Alright, here we are. It's Friday, September 4th, Rich Fantastic Sports Channel, and today we're going to be breaking down the NFC South Division. I'm going to start here with the New Orleans Saints. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to go 9-7 this year. Drew Brees and Sean Payton, that combination. We all know what their achievements have been since the two of them have been together. Drew Brees, he's a people like to use the term game manager when they describe who they think are lesser quarterbacks. No, a game manager is a guy like Drew Brees who's in control of every aspect of the offensive side of the ball. He's even controlling the defense. So a game manager is not a negative. A game manager is the ultimate positive you can pay a quarterback. Guys like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. So there's just a little tidbit for you of what a game manager actually is. Drew Brees is one of them. It's not negative. This guy gets the job done. He's great, and he just does everything and is in control of everything that is necessary on the offensive side of the ball. Max Unger coming over from Seattle on the offensive line at center is going to simplify that line a bit. You also have Jari Evans at right guard, who's always been a perennial Pro Bowler or All-Pro player. Either one, he's going to make either one of those teams. Zach Strief at right tackle, solid. The rest of the line, Turner Armstead at left tackle. It's a little shaky, but Drew Brees knows how to get the ball out of his hands quick and knows how to line protections. And he'll take care of that. So any weaknesses on the offensive line shouldn't be that big of a problem. You have Brandon Cooks, who's coming into his second year, a guy who's very fast. So we'll see if he can take the next level and be one of Drew Brees' favorite players, because you also have Marcus Colston, who has been, but he's getting a little long in the tooth, been in the league a while, so we'll see if he and Drew Brees haven't been figured out a bit by other defenses in the league. C.J. Spiller as well, coming over from Buffalo, is going to provide that running game with some pop. He's a speed guy, game breaker. You have Mark Ingram as well, who will probably do most of the heavy lifting on the offensive side when the running game. Where you have C.J. Spiller who can game break. And there's also a guy in the return game, so it's a nice addition as well for the Saints. Moving to their defense, you have Rob Ryan, who's the defensive coordinator, and this defense was not good last year. Frankly, I was surprised they didn't let Rob Ryan go, but he's still around, so we'll see if he can't shore up that defense from last year. We know, he's a Ryan. He's going to like the blitz and the 3-4 scheme. Anthony Spencer, a guy who came over from Dallas, is out for the season now, so it's going to put a little hindrance in their blitz capabilities. I like the secondary on this team. You have Keenan Lewis, a big physical guy, along with Brandon Browner. So you have two big corners who will provide some security on that back end. They were getting beat downfield a lot, so Keenan Lewis was already there last year. Brandon Browner's coming over from the Patriots, of course, so fresh off the Super Bowl. And they can cover basically any wide receiver there is in the league. Smaller guys might give them some issues, but they really upgraded their secondary by adding Brandon Browner to allow Keenan Lewis, I think, to play better than he did last season. And at their safeties, you have Jarius Byrd, who came over last year from Buffalo, a guy who's been a Pro Bowler before, and Kenny Vaccaro, who will now be entering, I believe, his third season in safety. So secondary I like, so this team should be solid and really should play better than they did last year on the back end, which will be important, and it's why I think this team will get back to where it belongs at the top of the division. I think last year was more of an anomaly. There was talk that Drew Brees was playing a lot of the year injured, and couldn't practice much, which would lead you to believe that they would have a bad season like they did. So we'll see with Drew Brees being healthy and improvements on the secondary. The Saints should be in better shape than they were last year, and I have one division. Second place team, I had the Carolina Panthers going to be 7-9. I really like Cam Newton. I thought he should have been the number one pick, as he was. I think he's played well. I mean, his demeanor early on in his career probably wasn't the best, but he seems to have solved that. The thing I don't like about Carolina coming into this year is the injury to Kelvin Benjamin, who was their top receiver last season. He's going to be out for the year with a torn ACL, and I think that's going to prove costly for this team. And you have guys like Greg Olsen and Jonathan Stewart. Greg Olsen, Jonathan Stewart are the best players outside of Cam Newton on the offensive end, and with Kelvin Benjamin being out. You have Ted Ginn Jr. at receiver. He's their top receiver, and this guy's just not number one wide receiver in the league. He's actually not really a wide receiver. He's a return guy. He's a good return guy, but that's where he, his bread is butter in this league. So I don't expect their offense to really be that potent with Etienne being their number one option, and I think they're going to become very predictable offensively, and Cam Newton's going to be able to do it all himself. And where he could get away with that in Auburn, I don't see him getting away with that here in the big leagues. I have Ryan Khalil at center, one of the better centers in the league. Michael Orr coming over from Tennessee, longtime Baltimore Raven. At left tackle, he's there to try to solidify this offensive line, which has had its troubles with injuries and lack of consistent play. So we'll see if Michael Orr can't get the job done in that regard. At left tackle, he's going to be covering him in the blind side. On the defensive side of the ball, they have a solid defensive line. You have one end, you have Charles Johnson rushing the passer, and Star Latuier at the defensive tackle. So you have pressure up the middle and pressure on the outside. That's always good for a defensive line, especially in this pass-happy NFL we have nowadays. Luke Kuechly, a linebacker, is sensational. He's one of the best, if not the best, middle linebacker in the NFL. I don't see any reason why he won't be on All-Pro team this year, and very easily could be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I think if Carolina loses, I shouldn't say loses, but doesn't make the playoffs, then that would hinder him from getting that award. But he's a good player, and I wouldn't be shocked if he was the Defensive Player of the Year this year. They also brought Charles Tillman in from Chicago. He was injured all of last season, suffered a season injury, I should say. He's coming back. He's up there in age. He's always been very good. He was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate a few years ago. Guy who can turn the ball over. I just question him at his age and coming back from the injury if he's going to be able to do what they need him to do, because the rest of their secondary is not good. So they're going to need Charles Tillman to really come back, and I'm not positive he can come back to the form he was. I believe he can be solid and be serviceable and be above average, but if they are expecting the Charles Tillman of a few years ago, then I think they're going to be sadly disappointed what happens. So again, the big thing with the Panthers was Kelvin Benjamin injury. I think had he not been injured, they'd be winning this division, but without him, I just see the offense being way too predictable. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at 7-9. Obviously, on the offensive side of the ball, it's the wide receivers of Julio Jones and Roddy White. Julio Jones is a big guy, which is why a team like New Orleans Saints needs their quarterbacks of Brandon Brown and King Lewis, and along with Roddy White, also two big physical wide receivers who can get down the field and they can cause havoc. Matt Ryan, is he coming back to the form he was when he first came into this league? The last 2 years he's been sloppy. I would like to think he's coming back, but I don't know if this year everything is just going to break right to where that translates to wins on the field. But I do think Matt Ryan will play well. He's got all the skills. He's tall. He's got the arm strength. He's been in the league long enough to know the professional ins and outs of the league. So I expect him to have a better year and be a solid contributor. But I just don't see that translating to wins necessarily with this team. Jake Matthews at left tackle is the best on the offensive line. This is a poor offensive line. It used to be very good. They had guys like Harvey Dahl and Tyson Clabo, but ever since then, I think that's one of the reasons they struggled the last couple of years as well as Matt Ryan is this offensive line. It's just not up to the standard that it was in the past. So they need him to play well. Matt Ryan will certainly need him to play well. And if the rest of the guys can pull it together, maybe this team might make a run, but I don't see it. And then Devontae Freeman at the running back position. That was a 4th-round pick a few years ago. So I'm not really sure where they're going with that. It's going to be very pass-happy this season for the Falcons because they have a lack of a running game, and the fact that they have such solid wide receivers. Now, with a poor offensive line, that's where it's going to spell disaster. So Atlanta would strike me as a team where if you have your guys or their players on your fantasy football team, you'll probably be doing pretty well, but the league is not a fantasy league. I actually haven't played fantasy football in about 12 years, 12 some odd years, so I don't even know if they're that great at fantasy football either. But they'll put up numbers, but this team won't put up wins. And we go to the defensive side of the ball. They have Dan Quinn, who has his work cut out for him. I think this is a poor defensive unit. Quinn, of course, the first-year head coach, was the former defensive coordinator in Seattle, will be coming over to try to turn things around on the defense. You have Justin Durant at linebacker, their best linebacker, coming over from the Cowboys. And Desmond Trufant coming into his third year, guy, 6 feet tall, has enough size to play. The question is now, is he ready to step up and really have a good defense and carry the back line of this defense, because they're going to need him because they're shaky everywhere else, and shaky's being kind. So Dan Quinn, as we said, certainly has his work cut out for him. So we'll see if he can't get this defense playing very well. And if he does, then with the offense, maybe. And I mean, 7-9 is still respectable because I think there's enough talent on this team. So you never know. A couple early wins in the year, possibly the playoffs could be in store for the Falcons. I don't see it. I see 7-9. I actually see them rallying late to get to 7-9. So I see this team through about 10 to 12 games being in the 3-7, 4-8, 3-9 range, and then getting hot late. That's how I see this season going for the Falcons. And our last place team with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had the number 1 pick, so they're obviously the worst team in the league last year. I think there's reason for optimism in Tampa Bay. They have a good offensive core, of course, with James Winston, who was the first-round pick this year at quarterback. We also have Doug Martin at running back and Mike Evans at wide receiver. Mike Evans is a big physical guy. Jameis Winston should love having him as a target, big arm, getting him the ball downfield. Doug Martin is a workhorse at the running back position. So good starting point for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. So I think there's reason for optimism. Well, a young team is going to struggle. Their offensive line isn't that bad either. You have Logan Mankins, who came over last year, and he had played with the Patriots for a long time. He's won Super Bowls. He's been a professional, a pro, as they would say. So he's going to anchor that line well. And Gazder Cherilis, pronouncing that correctly, coming over. He's going to be important to this team. He's coming over from Detroit at right tackle. Solid, right tackle in the league. I'd probably say top 40%. So he's going to be a nice addition, and they'll need their line to play well to protect the young quarterback, Jameis Winston. You don't want to get his confidence shot early in the year or early on in his career because they can't protect him. So I don't think the line is great. I think they're serviceable enough to keep Jameis Winston upright to where he's not just completely shattered, such as a David Carr situation early in his career with the Houston Texans, which he never recovered from. Moving to the defensive side of the ball, they're good on all 3 levels. So again, while you have reason for optimism on the offense, you also have reason for optimism on the defense. Gerald McCoy at the defensive tackle position, solid run stopper, good pressure up the middle. Will this be a year he gets 10 sacks? I'd like to see that, and I think he will. And I would expect to see Gerald McCoy on an all-pro team this year. I think he's ready to come into his own and really dominate this league, such as Ndamukong Suh has come to do. I think it's his turn to really step up. Might not get to that Suh level this year. I think he'll make a big stride towards it, and then it'll put him on the map for next year. But expect Gerald McCoy to have a very big season this year. I am. You move to the the linebacking core. Levante David, their best linebacker, gonna need him to stop the run behind Gerald McCoy, clean up, whatever's missed, because the rest of the line isn't that solid outside of Gerald McCoy. So he's gonna have to, clean up the mess, and he'll do so. He's a good player. And then you move on to the back end. You have Alteron Werner, who's always been a very underrated corner in this league. Never really got the publicity out in Tennessee when he was playing. I was coming over to Tampa Bay. He's not getting much more there, but this guy's, a little below the level of the Patrick Petersons, the Richard Shermans, the Terrell Revis. The names we went over. A little below that level, but he's very good, and they'll again need him to play well with a lot of young players on this defense and a lot of question marks everywhere else. And at safety, you have Major Wright. He's been a serviceable safety in the league. Spent a lot of time with Chicago. He's coming into his second year with Tampa Bay, so they'll need him to play well at safety. And there are a lot of holes on the defense. There are a lot of holes on the offense with Tampa Bay. But be patient. Things are going in the right direction. Lovie Smith is a good coach. You have a good core. So we have Tampa Bay going 6-10. So we'll give you a little recap. First place, I have the Saints going 9-7. Everything that's been accomplished with Drew Brees and Sean Payton over the years. I think they get back on track from a disappointing year last year. Again, a lot of reports are saying that Drew Brees was injured for a lot of last year and couldn't practice, so I expect them to get back to it. And look for Drew Brees to be finding his playmakers and Marcus Colston and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is going to make a nice leap in the second year here. And Max Unger coming over on the offensive line to solidify that line. Along with Jari Evans playing right beside him, Max Unger is coming over from Seattle. Defensive side of the ball, they were pretty bad last year. See if Rex Ryan can't solve that. They brought in Anthony Spencer, who's injured, going to be out for the season. So the secondary, Keenan Lewis and Brandon Brown are the big physical corners you need, especially when playing teams like Atlanta. They're going to have to play well because if there's not much pressure, then your secondary will be exposed. And Jarius Byrd and Kenny Vaccaro. So we know they like to blitz. A Rob Ryan defense is always going to like to blitz. And if they don't have the talent to get there, they're going to really rely heavily on the back end. And I think this back end's have enough to do it. So the Saints are going to win the division 9-7. Carolina Panthers 7-9. Kelvin Benjamin injury really going to hinder this team. I would have picked them to win the division had Kelvin Benjamin not been injured. Cam Newton is a sensational player, but I think he's going to try to do it all himself this year, especially with the injury. Jonathan Stewart, Greg Olsen, his best weapons on offense. Ted Ginn is going to be the one replacing Kelvin Benjamin. And Ted Ginn, while a good return man, is not a good receiver. I shouldn't say good, not a consistent receiver. On the defensive side of the ball, their line, Charles Johnson rushing the passer, Starling Touye up the middle, Luke Kuechly, look for him to be a defensive player of the year candidate this season at the middle linebacker. And Charles Tillman, can he recover from that injury, especially at his age, and provide leadership and veteran play on the back end of this team. Atlanta Falcons, we have them going 7-9 as well. They have Julio Jones and Roddy White, big receivers. With Matt Ryan's playmakers, is Matt Ryan going to return back to the level he was when he first started in this league and get back to his consistency? The offensive line is poor. Jake Matthews at the left tackle is their best. Offensive lineman there. Excuse me. Devontae Freeman, a running back with question marks there. Dan Quinn on the defensive side of the ball, the new head coach, is going to have his work cut out for him. Justin Durant, their best linebacker, and Desmond Trufant is ready to step up in the league. They're really their only highlights on the defensive end. That's why I don't see much this year. And last place, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They should be much improved off of being the worst team in the league last year. And we discussed their good cores on both sides of the ball, good young quality players on both sides of the ball. Starts on the offensive side of the ball with James Winston at quarterback, Mike Evans at wide receiver, and Doug Martin at running back. So on the offensive line as well with Logan Mankins, who's there, and bringing guys their Churlis are really going to shore things up a bit to allow James Winston to develop and find those young weapons he has and get this offense moving in the right direction for the future. And on the defensive side of the ball, Gerald McCoy, I expect him to get into double-digit sacks this year, have a big season, and again, really springboard himself into that dominant defensive tackle, such as an Ndamukong Suh was. And, Levante David, their best linebacker, we're going to have to fill up what Gerald McCoy leaves behind, shore that up. And their secondary, Alton Werner, a guy who's been a very underrated player in this league, along with Magic Wright. Again, there's going to be holes on both sides of the ball with this team, but they're going to be improved, and they have quality players to, at least mask some of the deficiencies this team has. Let's have them going 6-10. So a respectable year this year. Everything's moving in the right direction for that. Alright, so that's it for the NFC South. We'll be coming at you on Labor Day. We will have a Labor Day video. Have a good weekend up until then. When that comes around, we will be going over the AFC South. So, once again, have a good weekend, and give us a quick view on the holiday for the AFC South. Thanks so much.